Hi everybody, Bearded Rogue here with another Tony Unpacks an Oregon video. This time we are on box 10. So we're approaching the halfway mark. Hopefully you guys aren't already tired of these, but we're going to keep whipping through them and talking about the games inside. So, first game is a game called Magnum Opus. This game is a game salute game, which is its major downside. But it's a very interesting deck building game that uses a matrix. As you play alchemist trying to discover the Philosopher's Stone, you are using ingredients in reactions to find out what you've created, and you want to create the three aspects of the Philosopher's Stone in order to be the first one to do so. It's a mechanism I haven't seen in any other games before, and I thought it was very, very interesting when I saw it on Kickstarter. However, I didn't want to give Game Salute any money. As such, later on, the designer, who is the amazing Ian Stedman, who runs Magic Meeple Games, happened to have a copy sitting around, and so I bought a copy off of him, and he even autographed it for me because he's truly awesome like that. It's a really cool game. It's very different than anything else I've played. It uses deck building in a very interesting way. Unfortunately, I think the deck building can sometimes get in the way of the actual discovery. However, the Matrix is freaking amazing. Like, this right here is the idea of this game, and it's fantastic. You know, trying to put together two ingredients to determine what it is that you need, and then the ingredients could be pieces of the Philosopher's Stone, or the processes to make the Philosopher's Stone, or they could be other things that you could sell for money, or use for special abilities, or various things like that. It's a really, really clever mechanism, and I love that piece of it. I want to play this more. I think this is being re-implemented in a non-Game Salute version. I think the rights reverted back to Ian at some point, and I'm interested to see where this goes in the future. We'll see what happens with it, but overall, I'm really glad to have that version in my collection, and I'm even more glad that I didn't have to give Game Salute any money to get it into my collection. Next is Abyss, except you wouldn't know that because the cover of Abyss doesn't have the name on it. Instead, it has gorgeous artwork. I assure you, the gorgeous artwork continues throughout the game. This is a much lighter title than I thought it would be. It's got some elements of Oppress Your Luck. It's got some elements of set collection, a little bit of economic. The rubber banding mechanism in it is really interesting. You basically collect seats on the council in order to then recruit lords, very powerful people to your side. And when you get a certain number of keys, you gain these things that give you victory points, but get rid of the powers that your lords have. And the powers that your lords have could be very, very instrumental in you winning. But victory points are how you actually win, so there's this balancing act inside of it. The production values in this game are off the charts. The money are little pearls, which roll everywhere, but they give you little plastic cups to keep them in. It doesn't always work. The cards are all gorgeously illustrated. The board is gorgeous. Like, everything in this game. Production values to the nines. But it's a really light game. It plays in 45 minutes, it says. I think you can play it faster than that if you know the game. So it's one of those games to actually look out for. It looks a lot heavier than it actually is. There's a lot of interactions combo-wise, but if you are able to keep that kind of stuff straight, the rules themselves are not complicated. I think this is a pretty good game. If not a gateway game, it's definitely a gateway plus that people could play. It originally launched with 5 covers. I think that's over now. I think all the other covers are gone, and this is the only one that's available at this point, but I could be wrong on that. Either way, check around, because the different covers are really neat. I just happened to get this one. Next, I have Apotheca. Speaking of a game that has its production values turned up to the nines, this is one of those games. This game was originally kickstarted by Knapsack Games, and then Renegade, I believe, helped with distribution. It's flabbergastingly gorgeous. The components are amazing. The artwork is amazing. And it is a very simple, almost spatial puzzle type game. It shares a lot of commonalities with a lot of mobile games or match 3 type games, wherein you're trying to match potions on the main board, which you may or may not be able to see. Trying to match potions on the main board, and you have alchemists, which give you special abilities to manipulate those potions. And again, it's another thing like Abyss, where the closer you get to victory, the more your stuff is taken away. It's a pretty light game, given how heavy the box is and the production values. It does have a single-player scenario, but I've never played it. It says its time is 30 minutes. I'd say that's probably accurate. It may even be a little faster if you're both familiar with the game. But it's fast-playing. It's really well done. And it's a small game that you can... It's not a small game, but it's a lighter game that you can play with most people. I think it's a pretty big hit for both Renegade and Knapsack, and it's definitely a win for me to have in my collection. So that's Apotheca. Next is a game that everybody has opinions on because it's been so ubiquitous in the hobby for the past several years, and it looks like all of the stuff in my copy has kind of scattered itself around in the move. But to get right into the meat of it, the game is not cooperating still. Some people would say that that's the nature of this game. The game is Seven Wonders. Seven Wonders is a drafting game. There are a lot of people who consider it like the prototypical drafting game, though drafting existed before it, and I think has been implemented better since it. Seven Wonders is a game that is pretty easy to play, as long as you're willing to get past the iconography. It plays with up to 7, which is a big plus in the world of gaming. Not a lot of games play with that high of a number, especially games with some crunch to them. It says it plays in 30 minutes. In my experience, it takes longer than that until players have played a couple times. The player count... there are people who debate at which player count this is best at. There are very few people that think it is even good with 2. It uses variant rules for 2 players. I would suggest you instead play Seven Wonders Duel if you want to play Seven Wonders 2-player. We'll get to Seven Wonders Duel in one of my later boxes, I'm sure. But this is just the original Seven Wonders. I don't have any of the expansions for it yet, although they intrigue me. This is a game that... didn't go over as well with my group because they didn't want to play a game where there wasn't direct interaction amongst all of the players. And that's where the player count comes in. I think this game is fantastic with 3 because you affect only players to your right and your left. And in a 3-player game, that means you affect everybody. I think it is great with 4. Having just one person that you can't affect is kind of cool and introduces this element of... you know, how much do I hurt the person who the people who can hurt the person I can't touch? And then you get into the higher player counts where it kind of starts to fall off with me. By the time you get to 7, the drafting is really watered down in my opinion. You're basically just picking one card out of each hand of cards. Which to me, the fun of a draft is that it comes back around and you have a chance to see what other people have drafted and formulate what you're picking based on that. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen at the higher player counts. It still functions at the higher player counts, but there's a chance that you and somebody across the table from you will be drafting the same strategy, and both of you will basically be playing with half of the cards, whereas everybody else is playing with a full set because none of their strategies overlap anybody else's. The wonders are all decently balanced. The game itself is decently balanced. I don't think though science can score you a lot of points, I think if you've played the game at all, you know that science is capable of scoring people a lot of points, and you account for that through play. First-time players have some problems with that, but yeah, it's still in my collection. It plays 7 players, it plays really quickly, and it teaches really quickly, so 7 wonders. And then the last one in this box is the most important one in this box. This is Rococo. Rococo is one of my favorite games of all time. Rococo is an area control game that has a little bit of deck building, it has a little bit of set collection, it has a little bit of turning resources into other resources. It's like Euro through and through. As you can see, it was a nominee for the Kennerspiel. This is the German version, spelled with the K's. The American version is spelled with C's. I actually have a copy of both. It's a game that I love so very much. The basic premise is that you are a clothier making fancy dress clothes for the lords and ladies who are attending a fancy party inside of this place. And your goal is to have your fashions be the most awesome ones in the entire place, which is where the area control comes in. The mansion itself, or the castle, is divided into different floors, and when you complete an outfit, you place that outfit on one of the floors to gain potential benefits that you'll cover up by it, or endgame points based on where they're located. You'll use various bolts of cloth and thread, and I can't remember what the other resource is off the top of my head. I haven't played this in a while, and I need to desperately because it's such a good game. But you use these different resources to make fancy clothes, dresses, and suits, and then you put them up in the castle so that you can score points at the end game. And I'm making it sound horribly dull, but it is not dull. This game is amazing. It is easily in my top 10. I highly recommend it to anyone. If there are a lot of people who, for whatever reason, can't get over the theme of this game. Like, there's something wrong with high fashion or making clothing. I don't understand that mindset. It's never made any kind of sense to me. To me, it's a fantastic game with a theme that's not overused or overwrought or doesn't show up very often. There's only one other game I can think of where you are making clothes and designing clothes, and that's Pret-a-Porter. And unfortunately, because of the same kind of backlash, it's being rethemed to be video game development, I think. Either way, I'm sad that a unique theme on a fantastic game hasn't gotten as much buzz as I feel it should. They've released an expansion for it, which I have yet to play. I'm really hoping to get a copy of that at some point, because I really love this game, and I'd really love to make it even better with an expansion to add some more things to mix it up a bit. But that's Rococo. This is a fantastic game, guys. Anyway, that's it. That's the end of box 10. So we're getting close to the halfway point. I think I have 24 boxes total, but I'm not sure. We'll see as we go. Some of the boxes are going to get faster as we get to games that I have large quantities of, like the Netrunner one was. But that's it. I'm going to let you guys go. Bearded Rogue, out.